Guys, I just wanted to pop on and do a quick energy update. I just did a light language video. Had to plug my phone in. Sitting in this beautiful space, and I just wanted to share that there are so many things going on. You guys, the biggest messages that come through for me are the same messages I share all the time. But my guidance system, the information I get from going inside. I get from going within. Otherwise, there's this influx of information coming from all directions. And it's difficult to find discernment when we aren't sure what our inner compass is telling us or sharing with us. And for me, my inner compass is compassion, being patient right now with myself, being patient right now with those that are perhaps just coming into awareness that there's something more, that there's something bigger, that things aren't adding up to what we've been told. And that's happening more and more. And I also recognize that it's not happening to quite a few people. Sorry, I got distracted. Speaking of distracted. So what happens is there's this influx of information. And oftentimes we ask each other, well, is that real? Is this happening? What does that mean? What is this influx of information? Where is it coming from? And ultimately, we have to use our own discernment when we're getting our messages, when we're hearing other people's messages, right? So that's one of the bigger themes that's been coming up for me, is using that discernment and not getting sucked up into someone else's story. That's really challenging right now because there's so many stories that we can get sucked up into. So we could go with this, we could go with that, right? So that's part of what's been coming in. Going within to get our own messages, to get our own versions of what's real for us. When I say versions, sometimes we go within and we still get confused because it might be that what the questions we're asking or the answers that we have to those questions may not be what we want or what we expect. And that's something else that I've been guided to remind everybody, is to let go of the expectations as to how those answers come, what they look like, what they sound like, if they're not wrapped in the pretty package that we think they should be, or even the ugly package that we think they should be wrapped in. Sometimes it's the exact opposite of what we think versus what's really going on. And that's happened to me time and time again. So if we're tuning into something, our tuning fork is tuned into a particular program, oftentimes it's difficult to discern between the ego, which gives us the answers that we're looking for sometimes. Sometimes we get validation from the ego because we haven't gone deep enough necessarily to recognize that, oh, there's another layer here. So that happens to me sometimes as well. So I wanted to share that's something else that's been coming up. Go a little deeper. Why? Okay, that might be true, but why? Well, why? And just keep going into those deeper layers, and all of a sudden, the answer is really been there the whole time, but what I'm seeing is a package that's been wrapped with all kinds of bows, and we're not sure where to open it. Or one of those boxes where we open it and there's another box inside, and then we open it and there's another box inside. That's happening for a lot of us right now. Like, okay, we got through one box, but now here we are looking at this other gift, which doesn't feel like a present at the time. It starts to get annoying after a while, especially when we're not in a place of patience. And that's the other word that's been coming through a lot. And of course, I can already feel the eye rolling from some of us who go, okay, patience, I've been patient long enough. And the guides, my inner guidance team, my guides keep saying, how long is long enough? Instead of asking the question, when is this going to be done? We might want to start asking the question, what is it that's out of alignment that's causing me to feel this sense of impatience or urgency? Or maybe it's nothing that's out of alignment. Maybe it's just a human feeling or human emotion that we have because of some things that we're in the process of integrating. And that question can lead us to recognize that nothing. We just feel impatient. And it's okay to feel that way. What can I do to balance that? What can I do to integrate that? What can I do to move into a space of alignment with calm, grace, right? So these are all things that have come up for me. Okay, nighttime, lots of dream time activity that isn't always pleasant. This is something that's been coming up a lot for me, doing a lot of work in dream time. I am not going to go into too much depth in dream time, but what I keep hearing is broken dreams. Our dream cycles have felt very scattered and interrupted. So this is a mixture. And so part of this is also about letting go of the expectations of what our dreams should look like. Our dreams are just different right now for a lot of us. Last night, I finally had a little bit of a breakthrough, and I was literally dealing with fibers, fiber optics, threads, an infinite number of threads, and I was untangling them, and I was weaving them, and I was working with them. But not all of my dreams have been so fun, although I would say that was a little bit of a tiring dream as well. Many of us are working so much in dream time that we can feel disappointed when we're used to having our really awesome, fluffy dreams. And all of a sudden, we've had a series of nightmares. So it's important for us before we go to bed to really set our intentions, stabilizing our energy, staying connected to source, and integrating any of the emotions that might come up from the dreams. I get up in the morning and I clear from dream time after I journal some of the things that I've been dreaming, right? I write them down and then I put them away. Some dreams are harder to put away because they hold with them clues about bigger things, of course, that we're in the process of integrating or that we're in the process of recognizing about ourselves or past lives. A lot of stuff is coming up from past lives right now, which I always think as future lives as well, because time to me is a circle. So sometimes what we dream of that we think is a past life is actually a future version of ourselves from one perspective. The other thing that's been coming through is we get a lot of people are still experiencing or just beginning to experience or experiencing again after not experiencing them for a long time, what we used to refer to lovingly as ascension symptoms, physical discomfort or strange feelings in the body. From my perspective, it isn't always that we are not, it's how we perceive that experience. So, for example, last night was major downloads, activations, uploads, whatever we want to label it as, and it felt to me almost as if my teeth were electrified, and I was on this ride, laying in bed, on this ride, in between worlds, and I was just like hanging on for dear life. It's even challenging sometimes, even though I've gone through this many, many times, to just let go and enjoy the ride because it feels awkward. Sometimes it feels like, well, what am I letting go of? Sometimes it isn't about asking why or opening up that next box. Sometimes it's sitting with the box that we already have open, right? That first layer, that second layer, that third layer. So if you're just starting to experience these things, it's normal to go through these things. It's just that people don't teach us, oh, hey, by the way, when there's a solar flare, you might feel a little funny. When there's a high Schumann resonance, you might feel a little dizzy. So I encourage you to start looking up solar flare activity and effects on the body. Start looking up Schumann resonance. Also recognizing that it can stimulate us to activate or become aware of the next layer. And sometimes we have an idea what's inside the next box that we have yet to open. And sometimes we don't have a clue. And it's always, we don't know what we don't know, right? So we think we know, and then all of a sudden, surprise, and it shifts our entire reality. Migration, so broken dreams is what I'm hearing. From my perspective, what I'm seeing is a lot of broken expectations. Ideas and concepts of thoughts, or thoughts and ideas and concepts of what we thought we should be seeing, not seeing, how it should be unfolding, and it's just not happening. Or it's not happening the way we thought it should, or it looks so different that we don't even know what's happening. So this is about us really letting go of that human expectation, because there's so much going on that we don't understand from a linear or analytical left brain aspect. Sometimes our intuition, we haven't merged everything yet, sometimes as a human, in order to really, what I hear is diversify the experience. So sometimes we have these experiences so that we can diversify, that's a whole play on words, and dive into the multiverse in a completely different way than we would have before if it would have happened the way we wanted it to, or we thought we wanted it to. So that's a big thing right now. Letting go of those expectations allows us to be present with the moment and stay in a space of grace. And when we feel ungraceful, which I've had quite a few of those moments recently, they don't usually last very long, but I've got them, you know, and I don't mean like I'm always graceful. I mean, I mean just feeling that space of, I'm okay with this. Thank you. Gratitude, right? Being in that space. Sometimes I get angry, frustrated, I cry, right? Those aren't very graceful moments. I trip and fall. But then I have this ability, once I come back into that space of compassion for myself and compassion for my fellow humans, and let go, all of a sudden it's like, oh, I didn't even realize I was hanging on. Wow. Apparently I needed to process that still. Otherwise I wouldn't have felt so angry. The 5 stages of grief are still massive for a lot of people right now, and many of us are in different stages. So again, it's letting go of what the next stage looks like. I think I've mentioned this before. I've created my own additional, I think it's more like 10 stages of grief or different variations of those words. But some of us are in a place of acceptance because we've already gone through the other stages. But others are not. They're angry. And they need to process that and integrate that just as much as we needed to. So offering and honoring them, giving them space to do that, doesn't mean we just ignore them or pretend like if it's too much for someone. That's a whole other video. I know I haven't started that whole other video subsection yet, but we can still hold space, meaning in our hearts. It doesn't mean we just, when I say hold space, it's coherence. It's us being in that place of, I'll listen. I'm here for you. I can't fix it. I can't tell you what to do. If I did, it wouldn't matter. You know, sometimes it's not about, it's like when you're a healer, which we're all healers, we're all healed, but from one perspective or another perspective, where however you want to look at this. But what you're doing is you're not, well, in some levels, some people have done this before, and I did this in the beginning too, but you're not fixing them. It doesn't have to look like they're healing in a certain way. It doesn't have to be your responsibility or my responsibility to fix it for them, to make them get out of grief. That's not how it works as a human. And that's part of one of the things of letting go of the expectations of how it should work. Why should it work like that? Because we think it does. So that's something else. There's so much more. Guys, just really get grounded. I can't say that enough. Really get into your bodies. Drink plenty of water. There's a lot going on, and it's only going to continue to ramp up from my perspective over the next few months. And it's okay. It's okay, because you've already come this far. And this far is a lot. We've had lifetimes after lifetimes after lifetimes of craziness that we've come here, and we hold so many different perspectives already within us. if we can just allow ourselves to tune into that, to tune into the deeper truth of who we really are, to tune into the deeper nature of humanity, not what we've been told human nature is, but the real human nature. And also then tuning into Mother Nature and our own circuitry board, our own motherboard, so that we can harmonize into that frequency that allows us to process all of this in the most abundant, graceful, harmonious, compassionate way possible, even though it doesn't always look perfect or feel perfect in the moment. Our bodies are upgrading. Our versions of our realities are integrating, processing, changing, and shifting. So it's not always going to feel comfortable. So that's something that I just wanted to kind of point out as well. It's like, hang on to that ride and enjoy it as much as we can in those little moments. They add up. And I could go into a complete play on words on that. But I'm going to end it on that note, keep it short and sweet. I'm sure there's more. You might have questions. Feel free to post a question and I'll be happy to answer some of those. And I'll be doing another video soon about some of the sessions I've had recently with some amazing light workers who have brought through really cool pieces of information from my perspective. So I'll share those in the upcoming week. So thank you so much, you guys. Namaste, in love and light. Hang in there. And we are having this huge ripple effect, expanding out our field. And when other people step into that field, they don't know why. They don't have to know why. They just feel differently, because that's what we're doing as a collective, as a human, as an individual on our own journey, but sharing that with others. So we don't think we're making a difference, but we are. And the more we can do that, the more often we can do that, not all the time, but the more consistent and the more stable the grid and our abilities to grid becomes. And that's a whole other, again. So in love and light, guys. Namaste.